Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Kevin Joyce, Director of Product Management here at Netwrix, and today I'm joined by Huy. Do you want to introduce yourself for us?
Yes, I'm Huy. I'm the Director of Security Research at Netwrix.
Awesome. And I think that's a good segue into our first topic. Huy, as a security researcher, what are some of the things you're seeing on the rise in the space today?
Yeah, so basically, what you hear from security vendors out there, such as Microsoft, is that identity is the new security parameter. And basically, attackers have realized that compromising accounts within identity systems, such as Active Directory, is way more beneficial than burning 0 days. So, to give you some examples, there are a lot of environments out there that are still carrying out legacy configurations, which gives attackers now a wide range of opportunities to take advantage of misconfigurations as well as overly privileged accounts. And a trend that we're seeing right now is that attackers are now chasing Active Directory certificate services because basically there was an admin probably 10 or 20 years ago who pressed next, next, next until finish, and they set it up and they never really took care of it. And now attackers have figured a way out how to take advantage of those misconfigured certificate templates, and yeah, and which can be used to impersonate, let's say, a domain admin, for instance.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm sure it's a lot easier to take advantage of misconfigurations in an environment than it is to go hunt new zero-day exploits that they would have to discover from scratch. So I know our development team's working with Active Directory certificate services and trying to build some technology there. What are some of the things that customers can expect to see from us in the future?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. So right now we're working on a solution that basically allows us to monitor every certificate template enrollment, which gives us the opportunity to detect basically a suspicious enrollment where an attacker is, for instance, specifying a particular value in the subject alternative name to impersonate an account. So with our new solution, we can basically detect the actual enrollment. And in the near future, our plan is also to block an actual certificate template enrollment based on certain attributes that are very insecure. Yes.
Awesome. So if an organization has insecure certificate templates, they would be able to identify if an actor is attempting to use them maliciously to enroll certificates in their environment.
Yep. Absolutely. Yes, that's correct.
Cool. And there's not a lot of tools out there that can help with this, right? This is definitely something new to the scene that can help organizations with the problems that's gone somewhat unsolved besides auditing for these misconfigurations.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very hard to actually detect an actual enrollment because the traditional Windows event logs are not great, and it's very hard to configure them. So having a solution like this makes it way easier for admins to audit suspicious enrollments. Yes.
Right. And this is where we're taking our existing technology that's able to hook into LSAS on a domain controller, and we're modifying it so it's able to hook into the Active Directory certificate services so we can see some of this activity that we weren't able to see before.
Exactly. Yep, that's correct.
Awesome. Thanks, Hoy, for sharing what we're doing with the Active Directory certificate services. And I know some other cool innovations we're working on are stuff like MCP servers. We actually have an MCP server that's coming out for Netwrix Threat Manager that'll integrate with your chatbots like Claude Desktop or Claude, and it'll allow you to ask Claude questions about Threat Manager, such as what are the threats that happened over the last 24 hours, and it'll give you a much easier way to consume the tool's information. It also has integrations with our PAM system, so you can ask if any of the privileged sessions going on in the environment were involved in any threats that Threat Manager were able to detect. So there's not only stuff we're cooking up on the threat detection side, but definitely a lot we're doing from a usability perspective to help organizations leverage our tools as well. So we're talking a lot about threat detection, response, and the ability to interact with our tools via MCP. Some questions that some organizations may have is how they can be confident in the ability of our tools to detect threats and activities in their environment. And we're working with a third party called BugCrowd that's actually leveraging real world hackers to attack Active Directory with our tools installed. So that we can try and prove out the ability for our tool to detect threats and block threats in action. Hoy, as a security researcher, are you able to speak to how working with real world attackers in those scenarios is going to be a benefit for us here at Netwrix?
Yeah, absolutely. Because working with real world hackers allows us to basically do our due diligence, because in the end of the day, look, we might have missed something that a real attacker, you know, might be aware of that we're not. So it's super beneficial to work with these hackers to learn from them and see, where our gaps are. Yeah,
Yeah, what the basic way of doing an attack might not always be the only way of doing an attack, and these guys are
absolutely.
skilled.
Exactly. Because for instance, to give you an example, there are different ways to perform a curb roasting attack, for instance, that we might pick up a few ways to do it, but then that a hacker might figure out one way out that we just completely miss. So absolutely valuable to work with these guys and girls.
And even with the certificate enrollment, there's multiple
Yeah,
tools out there to do those types of attacks, and they
exactly. Yep.
interact with Windows in different ways.
Yep. Yep. That is correct.
Cool. Yeah. So we're excited about the value that we're going to get out of working with BugCrowd and really proving out the efficacy of our attack detection and blocking capabilities by allowing those attackers into a lab with our tools installed, and we're waiting on some good data from that engagement. Um, if you're interested in any of the stuff you heard today, definitely keep your head up and look out for some of the changes that are coming to Netwrix threat prevention for Active Directory certificate services monitoring, and in the future blocking and threat detection. And be on the lookout for some of the results of what we're doing with BugCrowd.